Stakeholders from the 6 states of the Niger Delta region and ex-militant leaders have commended President Bola Tinubu, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, and the Olu of Warri Kingdom, Ogiame Atuatse, the third, for securing oil and gas infrastructure and war against oil theft in the region. The stakeholders who made the commendation during a crucial meeting of members of the Pipeline Protection Task Force said despite inheriting a shabby economy and poorly managed oil and gas infrastructure, the president has harnessed the various security apparatus, the NNPCL, the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and others to achieve victories against oil theft and pipeline vandalism. To discuss this further, I'm joined by the former president, Ijaw Youth Council, Udengs Eradiri. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Eradiri. Now, let me get straight to it. What specific policies has President Tinubu implemented to combat oil theft in Nigeria, and how, do you feel this has been enforced?
Well, first of all, good afternoon to all viewers. President Bola Tinubu only came to strengthen what he meant, which was the policy that President Buhari had put in place to engaging the Niger Delta people in the security of oil and gas infrastructure in the region. And for us, commendations go to the president for strengthening that resolve and also giving the necessary support to NNPC and other institutions to further broaden the scope of the job, where communities are now getting involved directly in the security of pipelines in their environment. And so far, so good. You have seen the number of young people who have been employed through this process, and the oil production have been increasing because that policy is what we have been talking in the past, where we said that the people of the region must participate. However, this is just a stopgap measure to deal with the availability of petroleum products in the country. We must ensure that our refineries are working so that this problem can become one that we will nip in the bud. At the moment, the pipeline surveillance strategy is a strategy that the government have brought in place in order for this oil to flow, for government to be able to generate resources. There must be a long-term solution to the problem.
Now, talking about impact, how has the war against oil theft impacted Nigeria's oil production levels and also revenue? And what are the projections for future growth?
Well, first of all, you know that this oil politics, this oil stealing or corruption within the oil and gas sector is something that has been very deep into the fabric of our society. And it's not something that you can just expect the results to begin to happen immediately. However, since the inception of the pipeline surveillance contract, where communities, because I need to stress that, where communities are involved, the people of the Niger Delta leaders are participating, we have seen Nigeria's oil production from nearly less than 1 million to about 1.7 million barrels, and is already projected to go as far as 2.5 million barrels. But there are also other factors that are affecting the production of oil. Of course, you know that most of the oil that is produced today is not going into the ports because the previous administration had gone into certain borrowing and transactions between the NNPC. That most of the IOCs that produce that figure that should have been recorded is what they are using to settle debts and borrowing deals that have been done in the past. But if you go to the Niger Delta today, you will see that the destruction of oil pipelines have reduced since the inception of this process. And environmentally, you can see that we are beginning to count certain gains. So while we are making progress in terms of oil for the country's economy, we are also protecting the environment or doing something towards the eventual protection of the environment, because what is there, we have not looked at removing what already have been used to pollute. But this contract is stopping the further pollution of the Niger Delta. So if you look at it holistically, we are beginning to get to a situation where we'll be counting a win-win-win situation for us. But I always advise the governors of the Niger Delta are yet not participating in these processes. They are not keen in, they are acting as if it doesn't concern them. The governors must begin to come up with policies that will engage their local communities. They spend the monies that they get must be invested in the lives of the people so that few people are discouraged. More and more people will begin to be discouraged from going into destruction of pipelines as a means of survival.
Okay.
Because it's not just the destruction. They want to take that oil. But if the governors are putting back the money they get into their economies, gradually jobs will be created to engage young people. And
I mean, that would lead me to my next question, which of course has to do with community impact. Now, how do you think the government, at the federal level in particular, can actually address the social and also economic root cause, which of course you have highlighted, being poverty? How do you think accountability can be strengthened such that monies meant for development that are given to either the state government, community leaders, are used for the good of the general community?
I think the leadership selection process is a problem. We have a vacuum in that aspect of our society. Our value system is corrupted. Our leadership selection process is where we have a problem. Until we are able to address that and get to the point where leaders are held accountable, it's not just about the oil and gas sector. What of in other sectors? What of community governance structures? How do we now select youth leaders? How do we select community leaders? This decay in the process where everybody wants this godfatherism syndrome. It doesn't matter who the individual is, whether the person has the prerequisite, whether the person is qualified to hold that position. They just pick any person. So if we are able to solve leadership selection process, and then in our lexicon, we get to know that, look, if you do this, people will be punished for bad behavior and there will be reward for those who do well. If we are able to strengthen that aspect of our economy, our country, we will begin to see things going the right way. But as we speak, the entire leadership selection process is faulty. We do not expect it. I was talking to somebody, do you expect Nigerian football to be doing very well when in almost every other sector Nigeria is nosediving? Because we will pick those negativities and bring them to every strata of our society. We need to rejig our governance system, our leadership selection process, and it calls back to true federalism we have been talking about, where we must ensure that accountability becomes the foundation of our leadership process in Nigeria. That way we can begin to deal with the issues. But if we think that we are going to get it right in the oil and gas sector, while we are not getting it right in other areas, then we will be making a mistake. Nigeria must begin to look at how we select leaders, and our value system, we must rethink it for us to make progress.
All right, let's look at the relationship between the military and host communities, particularly, in this war against oil theft, and of course, the security situation, particularly when it comes to infrastructure protection, of this pipeline, systems. How would you rate it so far, given the very unfortunate incident that happened at Okwama?
Well, I think the Okwama issue, like I said before, has a lot of underlying factors that led to it. And so if we go there now, we will not live here today. The relationship between the military and the communities have not been cordial. Only where they work together in the pilfering of the country, then there will be cordial relationship. Anywhere that the military tries to stop what is going on in the region and they come with unclean hands, then there is always conflict. Because what is the instrument of coercion? The gun. So if it is the gun that you use to oppress me, too, I will go and get it. That's what's going on. Because when I see you in the thief with the big one, this small one won't take it. Disabled will not take it. That have always been the relationship. Until the military authorities come to equity with clean hands, the people will always look for a means of surviving, whether the process is right or wrong. because they believe that you too, your hands are not clean. The governors too, they get money at the end of the month. Instead of putting that money into the economy, they are stealing the money. The people are seeing. They know that it is their oil that was sold to accumulate to the point where states are sharing money. That money that should get to them, that the constitution say, use it for us, they are not using it. Okay, if not that oil, we will take them. And that is what have led to the breakdown of trust, the breakdown of law and order in the Niger Delta, and also in our country, that we are saying that we need to sit down and begin to look at what brought us this far. If we don't go back and correct it, then we will constantly be coming on TV and looking for one solution or the other, whereas we are leaving the root cause of the problem. There's a breakdown of trust. Because when I see you use money that is meant for me for something else and for your pocket, and I know that it is this same oil that you are getting the money from, okay, then me too, I will go and carry that oil. There's a breakdown of trust, the relationship, this whole process of pipeline surveillance and the new administration focusing on what is going on is beginning to put people on their toes. So you see some form of calm, as it were. But we believe that until we begin to be true to ourselves, our refineries begin to produce, so that there's no vacuum set for the people. Because some of them, when they take that oil, they go and refine it the local way to provide for diesel, to provide for kerosene, which are basic petroleum products that the people need to survive. So first, the vacuum that is created, the economic vacuum, need to be filled by policies of government and sincerity of purpose. That way we can begin to sift the bad eggs amongst the lot, and gradually we can make progress.
All right. Udengs Radiri, the former president, Ijaw Youth Council, thank you for being on the news.
Thank you.
All right.